video, we're going to take a look at creating some personal views. So here we are in opportunities and we're on the view open opportunities. So there's a whole host of system views in here, and these are the views that are created and maintained by your system administrator. What we're looking to do is add on some views of your own to the bottom of this list. Bear in mind, obviously, you can create and query the data by applying filters onto any of these columns here, but we're looking for more of sort of a permanent view where the columns are in the order that you want, they are the columns that you want, and the filters are applied for you personally. So there's two ways of doing this. You can come into the create view here, and that will open up the advanced find filter system. Notice there's no filters on here, so you're kind of starting from scratch, and when I look at the results, my columns are the same every time as I start from advanced find here. Or you could come up to here and come to the advanced find here, and I tend to prefer this one because then when you select that, it brings through the filters that are already on this view. So we're already looking at status equals open, and when we look at the results, it is the columns from this view. So it just speeds you along a little more in terms of getting your data. So if there's a view that's close to what you want as a result, then start from that view and hit the filter there and come into advanced find. So this first page on the advanced find are essentially the filters that you're applying to your data. So we already have one here, which is status equals open. So essentially you just read down in terms of filters and then read across as to what filters are being applied. Noted this page looks like this when you come in and there's nowhere to add anything in. Just click on the details there and you'll be back into an editable mode. It's always good to have status equals open to start off with to make sure you're not including any sort of inactive records in your views. But then you can continue to filter down here. Note it's worth pointing out that these are not the columns that have to appear on your view. This is just filtering down the data here. So we could come in and perhaps look at probability. So these are all the available fields in opportunity. Again, not necessarily the ones on the view, just everything available. The operator here depends on what we've chosen here. So we've got an equals, it knows it's a number. So we've got greater thans and less thans and things. So let's go with is greater than, let's say 90. And we can add another line down here and say estimated value, something along those lines. Estimated revenue is greater than, let's say, 20,000. And as we're building this up, we can see the results just by selecting the red dot there. We can see red exclamation. We can see what the results are so far, and we can continue to build. So we can choose things that perhaps you want to look at the next 3 months worth of data, so the estimated close date, and it knows this is a date, so we can look forward into the future and say next month or perhaps the next X number of months. So if I do say next X months and I put the number in there, so that would be the next 3 months and so on. If you add a clause in that you decide you don't want to use anymore, just simply click the down arrow here and select delete, and we're good and we're fine. And so we're going to stick with that as our view so far, and we'll build from there. So I can get my results again. I can click on there, and I'm looking at these columns and I'm thinking, well, actually, there's some stuff in here that I don't need, and I need it in a slightly different order as well, just to make it a little easier. So how do we deal with that? Well, come back to Advanced Find and come into Edit Columns, and we're into the column editor screen. So I can move things around. So perhaps I want customer as the first column. Just select the column field header there and then use these arrows to move fields around. And it's a little squashed, so I can do change properties and make that a little wider, to 200 pixels instead. Now this is a bit too big, so let's cut that down. I just did that by double clicking. I want to see which ones are closing first, closing earliest, so we can configure sorting here. So let's have that by estimated close date in ascending order, and I can also then sort it perhaps by estimated revenue in ascending order if something falls on the same date, and so on and so on. So if there are things in here that I don't wish to have, like perhaps contact, I can select that and then select remove, and account and select remove, and so on and so forth. So essentially that's configuring, sorting, adding columns, changing properties, and removing columns. You just need to remember to select your column before you do that. Select OK, just take a look at your results again, and that's looking fine. That's looking like a good view to me. So the last thing we need to do is just to save this as a view that I can then use. So I can do save as. So that would be open opportunities greater than 90 probability. Obviously I can call this whatever I wish to, but the more of an explanation that you give it, the easier it is when it's in the list. And we select save, and that's saved away. And then we can just close this screen here. Now when I look at my view selector, I can scroll down, and there it is. I have my view now. I might wish to make that my default view just by selecting the push pin there, and I'm into that view, and it's always available for me in the future. So what happens if that view needs to be changed now? That's not a problem. Just open up the view that you want to edit, come into the advanced find again from the funnel there. In we come, just make sure that's the name of the view, that's fine, and I can just edit away here, change the filter, change the edit columns, and then just select save. Or if I'm using it as a basis for another view, I can do save as, and then continue on and edit that future view.